Hi everyone, it's Joe here from Lawn Solutions Australia and welcome to this episode of Turf Talk. Now we haven't had an international guest for a while, but we're lucky enough to be joined by Mike O'Keefe, who's a program manager at Ohio State. So welcome, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Now, for those, obviously a lot of people listening probably haven't heard of the Ohio State program. If they're in the industry, they probably may have, but tell us a little bit about the Ohio program and what it does within the Australian sports turf industry.
Well, basically what we do is we bring over young people from Australia and New Zealand for training on high-end golf courses in the States. We help them get their visas. We put them into great golf courses. We get them great experience in the States, and it really helps them to come back and get good jobs here in Australia. That's pretty much in a nutshell.
So you'll take people that have already entered the industry, so they might be an apprentice at a golf course in Australia somewhere, and they go to the US. Do they actually go to Ohio State University? Is that where they're based at?
So what we do is we bring them in for training, and really they come into Ohio State for an orientation first.
Yep.
They don't per se go to class at Ohio State University.
Okay, right.
We match them up with really good golf courses, and they come in for an orientation. We explain their health insurance, their visas, the taxes in America. It's a big move to go to the States, but we really help them with every step. So they come in for 2 days of orientation, and then we network them with all of the other young people that come in from New Zealand, from South Africa. We bring in about 50 or 60 turf interns a year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the hidden purpose of the program is to network them with a young man or a young woman from England, maybe, that's at the same age, in the same profession.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, you're doing the same thing down in Pamela or someplace. Oh, wow. So, and then you realize, oh, I'm not the only one doing this, and this young guy is doing it, and we have females in the business as well, and we bring them in. So it's really coming in for an orientation, and then we send them out to the golf courses for their internship.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it an apprenticeship, but it's more of an internship for them. They're hands-on on the golf courses.
So I've done a little bit of digging into your program, and I've seen some of the stuff that's gone on over the past few years. They're not just getting shipped off to any old golf course. They're getting to some pretty Mickey Mouse golf courses over there, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't know what the word Mickey Mouse means, but you mean pretty good golf courses?
Pretty good golf courses, yeah.
They are. Let me tell you, we work with the top courses in America. And the reason we do that is because just by natural understanding, the top courses are managed by good people. Yeah. You better be good if you're running a Wingfoot, if you're running a Congressional Country Club.
Sure.
You know, if you're running a Quail Hollow, which is having a PGA championship next year or whatever, you know. So I've gone to these courses because, number one, they're good teachers. Yep. Number two, they have good housing. Number two, the young people get great experience, and they get to be involved in PGA tournaments, big-time majors like that.
Yeah. So. Something they would never be able to experience otherwise. That's the key here.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how long's the program been running for?
So the program started in 1979 by Mike Chrisman, and he started bringing in farmers. Okay. And it grew, and we started doing more horticulture. We do a lot in landscaping, and we work with landscape companies. We work with nurseries, garden centers, and we have a number of landscape companies that take students to do what you do in Lawn Solutions is more about high-end management and landscaping. Yeah. Out in Long Island, for example, very rich people, the companies, I can think of one, Summerhill Landscapes, they take very good landscape students from the Europe. I don't get very many from Australia, actually.
Okay, righto. So it's all over the world you're grabbing these kids from?
Yes, sir.
And mainly Europe, is it? Or
mainly Europe and South America and the African continent as well. Yeah. Like 31 countries we recruit from.
And how many kids each year did you say?
We have about 400 to 500 every year that come in. So we have a staff of 7, 8, 9 people in the office doing this full time.
Right.
And we work directly with the State Department to get the visas for them. And we answer to the State Department. We work for Ohio State, but Ohio State's a huge university. Let me tell you a little bit about it. There's 65,000 students going to school there. Yeah. And we, for example, have 2 Alistair McKenzie designed golf courses on the campus itself.
Right, okay.
And the football stadium holds 10,000 people for the college. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy big. And because of that huge logistics, we're allowed to do this, what I call giving back or paying forward and helping young people from Australia come over to the States. And the name Ohio State is synonymous then with turf and education and training. Yeah. And if somebody comes over from Australia, you'll go around the industry here and you could look around here today and you'd find a whole bunch of guys being on the program.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, it's great. No, I've had a little bit of experience. I've been lucky enough to go to the US 14 or 15 times now. Spent a bit of time at the University of Georgia, also Texas A&M, more in the grass research side of things. So I understand the size of these universities or colleges is just enormous. So the sheer amount of people that come, but it's good to see turf grass as such a focus for these places. So let's just scale it back a little bit. So I'm an apprentice golfer in Australia, for example, apprentice golf course superintendent in Australia, for example. So I see your program, I apply for your program, I get into your program. What's the sort of timeline then for me? Say I get accepted today. What sort of happens? Is it a big wait for me, or do I go straight in?
No, actually, I mean, just to back up on that though, before somebody gets to me, when people ask me like, how can you pick that individual? Well, I've been here so long, I'll find out, I'll know who more than likely their supervisor is on the golf course where they're doing their apprenticeship. I'll more than likely know their TAFE teacher as well.
Yeah, okay, right.
So if you're going to put them into the top clubs, you got to match the right person. You don't want to put somebody in over their head.
Yeah.
So I'll know how good you are.
Yeah.
How good were you in TAFE? How good were you on the golf course?
Yeah.
What's your focus? Are you from a very country course? Are you from Sydney? Everything varies. So because I always say, I've never grown a blade of grass in my life. My job is to grow people.
Yeah.
And to grow people, you got to know what product you got from the first day. So then when you get accepted, I'm going to have you talk to me on WhatsApp video, and I'm going to tell you about the program. And what I use is a little bit of reverse psychology and tell you, this is tough. This is long hours. You're away from your family.
Yeah.
Can you handle this?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to talk to you about what kind of golf course I'm going to put you into and who I'm going to match you with. Maybe I'm not going to put you with an Australian. I'm going to put you with a Kiwi or a South African or whatever. So it actually indirectly builds your network in that situation. And then I'm going to talk to you about getting your application done. And young people today, they're not the best communicators, so we get them to do a good application form. They're going to need 4 references, and they can get those from their TAFE, whatever. We build a file on them, and then we go to the golf course. But before they go to the golf course, I'm going to put them in touch with a guy that was at that golf course last year.
Right. Okay.
So they're not talking to me, a salesman.
Yeah.
They're talking to a lad that was at the course last year. How good was it?
Yeah.
What's the housing like? What's the social life like? Because young people today, it's not just about work. You want to find out, do they like footy? Do they love American football? You know, and I match a whole package together for you.
Yeah.
And then before you go over, you actually feel good about it because you already know what you're getting into.
Yeah, sure.
And then you come over in the first week of April. We bring everybody in together. We have them stay in a hotel. We have them do what I call networking exercises. We'll get on a bus and we'll drive around and visit a couple of golf courses.
Yeah.
Supers will tell them what they've done and what they've done. Then they're going to realize the superintendent of Muirfield Village is a young guy. And they're like, he's only in his 30s or 40s. How the hell did he get to that level so quickly?
Yeah.
Well, they were interns themselves, and they make you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And then you're relaxed, and you're on the ball. Then by the first week in April, that's when our season begins.
Yep.
And they're there, and it's cold, and one fella shows up with his tongs or whatever you call them over here, and it's freezing cold, and I'm like, mate, you're going to have to buy a jacket. Oh, mate, I don't own a jacket.
Yeah.
You know, and he's freezing cold, so we ease him up into the temperature.
Right. Gotcha. And how long are they typically in the States for?
So normal visa is like 12 months. Some of them, if they've been out of education for more than a year, we can call them trainees. So we can technically put them into 6 months in one course, move them down south to warm season, and another 6 months. So they could technically do 18 months.
Oh, wow.
If they wanted to.
I had in my head it was a short stay. It was like a 10, 12-week program.
It can be. The shortest they could do would be like 6 months. For example, here in Australia, I'm talking more about, guys, when you're going into your winter season, which is beginning in like April or May, it's cooling down. They could come over to the States and they could stay until September and come back when your season, it's warming back up again, So that's beginning of your season. So.
Yeah. So that's why you have to do your due diligence on these kids, don't you? Because you have to prepare them for, getting shipped around away from their family for a long time.
I know everything about them.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're very surprised when I find out, so you're at Cromer Golf Club in Sydney. Okay, so Leon is the super there. So you went to Ride TAFE. Maybe you went to Yalla TAFE.
Yeah.
Do you know Yalla TAFE?
Yeah, we do quite a bit of work with the students at Yalla TAFE. Yeah.
I mean, Yalla TAFE's down there. What about Canberra? The John, the lecturer at Canberra. So I do my work behind the scenes.
We actually had Dave, who runs the Yalla TAFE campus down there. He was on our podcast.
I heard him. I just listened to it
just recently.
Good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and he runs a really good program there. And what do you make of the Australian, turf apprenticeship program through TAFE? Is that something you've looked at extensively? Is it? Or?
So I don't want to blow smoke, but the turf system in Australia, your education system fits really well in the States because you got TAFE teachers like Dave out there who's putting a lot into those guys, taking them to Royal Sydney, taking them around, showing them as much as possible. When they're done, they're very, very solid guys.
Yeah.
They've done everything. They know how to mow greens. They know how to cut cups. They do everything. So when they get to the States, they look like rock stars.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's because they're doing hands-on work-based training in their apprenticeship. Our system, no offense to it, is 4-year degree, very technical, high-end stuff around professors doing research. When they come out into the workforce, you know, hopefully nobody hears this in the States, but they can't tie their shoelaces compared to the Aussie boys.
Okay, right.
I mean, it's a good system here.
A good practical system.
It's a very good practical system.
Yeah.
So they're very employable in the States.
Right.
But they come in here and we're going to take them then to the next level with technical stuff and agronomic principles, nutrients, water problems, salinity problems.
Yeah.
So then that adds value to them even more.
Yeah, right.
And then all the latest technology, for example, the sub-air systems, all the new ball from the USGA, are you familiar with that? They have new technology out where they're going to put a chip into the golf ball. And they're going to be able to measure all kinds of trueness and firmness and everything in it. Well, all those interns are exposed to that in the States. They're then put in where they're doing PGA tournaments at this level and they're rubbing shoulders with the top guys.
Yeah.
You know, so to answer your question, your system is very good. And that's why I'm here really, because I'm getting asked by the superintendents, the top clubs, hey, Mike, what happened with the Aussies? Where are the Aussies?
Yeah.
I only had 3 Aussies this year.
Yeah.
I normally have 15 or 20 Aussies.
So they can get an Australian apprentice coming out of our TAFE system with really good practical knowledge. You can take them to the US. You can fine-tune the technical side of their learning, and then they can come back, stay in the US or come back to Australia, a whole different
They can't necessarily stay in the US. Our system finishes and we help them then saying, hey, what about, you're looking for a job back in Australia? And I mean, I'm talking to supers here, asking them, do you need help? Is there guys coming back? So they get up to that level and they're so employable.
Yeah.
In some cases, if they're 21 or 22, I will encourage them maybe to go on to England or go on to Dubai or something because you want to see the world.
Yeah.
And you want to do it and staying at the top level. And I had a story one time of a fellow, I don't know if he was an Aussie or a Kiwi, Mark Brooks, wonderful guy, great experience in the States. I found out he was working in a warehouse in London in November. Right. I was over at a show and they said, Brooks, he's working. I put all that time into him. He's working in a warehouse, driving a forklift. So I chased him down and I said, mate, what are you doing? Where are you living? I'm living in Windsor. I said, down the road from you is Sunningdale. And he's like, yeah, Mike, but you can't get in the gate. There's a great big gate there. I can't even get in there. I said, let me make a phone call. Call the super, past students, go down on Monday and, there's a code. Here's the code for the gate. Go and see the super. Yeah. He got a job right away.
Yeah, right.
So you're taking an Aussie or a Kiwi and you're sending them over to England and you're putting them into top-notch golf courses. Yeah. Our reputation is what carries us.
Yeah, sure.
So I want to help these guys get jobs wherever. Now, do they finish up back in Australia? I'm not forcing them to come home. Let the chips fall where they may. And you walk around here and you see supers that have been, you look at Brad Foster, you look at Pat Wilson down at Pambala, Maroomba, Brad's at Tura Beach. Look at Danny Cook, the super at the Australian club. I mean, Tom Jones at Royal Sydney. There's a ton of my guys back here that you may not know were in the States.
Yeah.
And they come back to good jobs.
It's such an extensive program. When you start to break it down, you realize how many people are actually beneficiaries of this program. But I'd imagine part of the beauty of your program is the connections that you have. You've just mentioned a few of them there. You can help people find appropriate places to work, and not just in the US, but also back in Australia here too. You know quite a lot of people here getting around.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, over in New Zealand, I just came from New Zealand. I was over at some of the best clubs in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to go someplace, all they got to do is contact me. The beauty of this industry is it's so small.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
And I love it. I deal in the dairy business. I deal in the wine business. But the turf people are the best people in the world, honestly. And you can go anywhere in the world. You can rock up over and go, you want to go get a job? Pat Wilson worked at Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And I was just talking to him there. He told me that his GM was going over to England with his family. And Pat said, you want to go check out Wimbledon? And he was like, yeah. But how am I going to get in there? Pat said, I'll make a phone call.
Yeah.
Now, this is a country lad down in Pambala setting his GM up to go into Wimbledon.
Yeah.
How is that happening?
Yeah.
So that's that network that it's built.
Yeah.
He was in America, Pat was. He went on then to Wimbledon because the past students are over there at Wimbledon. And I mean, There's a bunch of guys over there.
We just had a similar experience. We've just been to the UK. We've just returned. We took 50 Lawn Solutions turf farmers over to the UK, and even through our contacts through this industry, we were able to go to Wimbledon, we were able to go to Old Trafford, we were able to go to Lawes, we were able to go to Twickenham. Like, it was so cool. So it's such a great thing, our industry, how we can connect that way.
I love this industry. They're the best people in the world, and they will help you out, and they're all trying to grow, and we're all short of people right now.
Yeah.
We don't have the young people, and we need people listening to this podcast, young people that don't think they can do this, getting in touch with you or getting in touch with me and saying there's a framework for you to go up the ladder, and there's people out there to help you. Back in our day, we didn't have people, helping us. You can go do this. I guarantee if you called up Brad Foster or Pat Wilson and said, hey, my apprentice would be interested in this thing. What do I do? Pat would talk to them. He would tell them about it.
Yeah.
Now what they're doing is like they're going and doing stuff where they're sending their guys. They had 3 young lads there recently, Rory, Riley, and Zach. And they sent them all up to RQ to volunteer for the tournament.
Yep. Okay.
What clubs are doing that for their apprentices, going above and beyond is what I call it.
Yeah.
And they're doing that. And these young lads, it registers with them that my boss is doing more than he needs to do for me.
Yeah.
And then what they did was they had Jamie Lime come in. He was a Manly Seagull.
Jamie Lyon, yeah.
You know Jamie Lyon?
Yeah, I know Jamie Lyon, yeah.
I had him come in and just play golf with the greenkeepers.
Yeah.
Do you know how happy the greenkeepers were to have that? They're going to go home and tell their folks.
Yeah.
Hey, we had Jamie Lyon come in, and who's doing that for these young people? And today, we have to do more for them.
Yeah, because it gets reciprocated, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. And I guarantee you, these 3 lads, Rory and Riley, who work for Pat, and Zach, who works for Brad, they're going to be loyal.
Yeah.
There's a loyalty involved when they see you doing something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's wonderful. But that's what I'm trying to encourage people to do is do more with the apprentices than just expect them to go work for you every day.
Yeah.
And we'll raise the standard in Australia.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah.
The way you even said Australia there, you got a bit of an Aussie accent coming there.
Oh, mate, I've been down here too long drinking frothies,
Gets better. Now, you've got a badge on, a GCSAA badge, and if people can hear a little bit of background noise, it's because we're at the Australian Sports Turf Managers Association conference up in Brisbane, and I was lucky enough to go to the GCSAA conference in Orlando last year. Now, what's the importance you hold on conferences like we're at now at ASTMA and also the US version?
It's key because these young people coming into this show are going to get to, first of all, the networking that's involved is amazing. You saw how big Orlando was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. It's like this show on steroids.
It's nuts.
So, and I bring all of my apprentices. Actually, that photograph right there is from one of the conferences. That's the president of GCSAA right there.
Yep. Yeah.
And they then begin to realize, wow, this is way bigger than I ever imagined in my life. And then they have first-hand contact with the top boss man at Toro. So I'll have them come in and talk to Toro. They will get to meet the people from Syngenta. And what I'm trying to encourage them to do is when you're a greenkeeper, when you're a super out there, you have a problem. Hey, I have an issue with some product. Who can I call? Well, they didn't realize there's people behind those name brands. There's a guy in Toro that you can call if you got a problem. What am I going to do about this? I met you in Orlando 5 years ago. So then they become much more utilitarian and useful in their club because if they've never left home, they don't know what to do when they have a problem.
Yeah.
These shows help you face to face with the top dogs.
Yeah.
And I had the president of GCSA come in and talk to all my guys in Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, the CEO, Rhett Evans, I don't know if you know that name.
I know the name, yeah.
Yeah. He just climbed Everest. He's
right.
a climber. And he came with the president of GCSA and talked to all of them. And that's then the guys realizing, wow, this association is strong. They're telling them, you're the future of this industry. You need to start being in the association, being involved, doing more education.
You got to get out there at events like this, don't you? You got to get around.
And that's the thing that this show is great. And I mean, I love seeing the apprentices here. I've met all the apprentices, and the same in the States. I took 40 of my guys to the show in Orlando, and we helped them get into the seminars, excellent seminars. So just when you think you're done with your level 4 in TAFE, you're only just beginning.
Yeah.
So GCSA is very supportive of what I do, and thank you for asking about that.
Yeah, no, it's so important. And that was a real eye-opener for me going to that. I've actually been to 2 of them now. We went to one in San Antonio and also one in Orlando. I think it might have been to 3. Might have been the San Diego one as well. But it's a whole other world walking into those US exhibition centers. It's just like, this is massive where we are here, but it's 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
Yeah.
It's like
we had a show one time in Orlando. I think it was like 3/4 of a kilometer long.
Yeah. Yeah,
the
just
trade
keeps
show.
going.
I mean, it
keeps
kills your
going.
feet, but
Yeah.
everybody and anybody. The USGA was there last year. They had the US Open Trophy there. You know, the boys get to network with everybody and anybody, and they're like,
that's pretty cool.
"Oh, I want to meet the guy from this golf course. Oh, he's right over there. Come over. Let's say hello to him." You know, that kind of thing. And a lot of people come in from Europe because the BIGA, I don't know if you know BIGA, it's the equivalent of the GCSA in the UK.
Okay, right.
And they all have a really good relationship with GCSAA.
Yeah.
And the president of BIGA comes over, Jim Croxted, and that network, I love it. Today, there's great communication there.
Yeah, it's a lot easier today, isn't it?
It's a lot easier today. You know,
Now,
so.
we'll get back to your program a little bit later on, but you don't sound like you're home very often. You seem to travel around a fair bit, but the accent's obviously not American. You're an Irishman. You told me before. How do you end up in a role like this? It seems quite a weird journey.
Well, actually, I was an intern myself on this very program that I manage.
Oh, right.
I grew up on a dairy farm in the south of Ireland in Cork.
Yeah.
And my family, I was the youngest of 6, and my family were very international. They traveled. My brother's an engineer with Audi. My other brother's an engineer. My sister's a nurse. She lives up in Cairns.
Oh, okay.
Did I say that right? Cairns?
Cairns. You're close. Yeah, we'll accept it.
She's still up there. She's a matron in the hospital up there. So
Wow.
they encouraged me to travel.
Yeah.
I did an internship over in the Netherlands. I was in France, and I came back, and I was in college, and I got a job, and I was settled when I was 21 in Ireland. I'm like, this is it. Well, I got bored, and I applied for this program, and my background was in veg production.
Okay.
And I applied to come over to the States and work on an internship with Heinz tomato ketchup, growing 400 acres of tomatoes right outside of Ohio State.
Right.
And I would go into Ohio State to school. And actually, I didn't study turf. Actually, I studied business management, human psychology, which is a very important trade when you're in this kind of business.
Sure.
Managing people.
Yeah.
And my boss noticed me and said, wow, you're very good with students and you really understand the big picture. Why don't you come in and help me in the office?
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'm not an office person. I really don't know how to type or do anything, and that's okay. He said, I want you to be able to talk to people.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I started in 1988, would you believe it?
Wow.
And I came in part-time, and I go back to the farm. And then in 1990, I finally came in full-time and started helping him. But I love turf. And I said to him, I said, well, you don't have anything with golf or anything? He goes, I know nothing about it. He was an animal science guy, and in respect to him, he did a good job. So slowly I started doing horticulture. Slowly I started to bring in the nursery, the garden center students from overseas. We had about 70 or 80 kids back then.
Right.
And slowly we started horticulture. And then I started to see 1 or 2 turf kids would come over from England, but they would go to their own golf courses that were convenient.
Yeah, okay.
I started to stop that and saying,
You wanted to test them a little bit. Yeah.
yes, get the better golf courses, and one golf course at a time. Took time. You build it up. You go to Muirfield Village. You go to a Scioto Country Club. We have 4 top 100 golf courses right in the city in Columbus.
Yeah,
it's a golf mecca.
Yeah.
So I did it slowly, and I built relationships with our courses. And now look at it. We have a waiting list of golf courses that want these guys.
Who want people to come to their courses.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right.
And it doesn't happen overnight. But you get a kid. You know the lecturer in the college in England, and you go to him and say, what's this kid like? Yeah. Oh, Mike, he's good. He could do this and do that, And I mean, I work with people like LA Country Club where they have the US Open, but you don't need to be, all knowing when you come in.
Yeah.
You have to have a good interest. You got to have a passion, and they will build you up. Now what I do is I insist on all the boys when they come in, or girls as well, to go and do tournaments. And they get to go do PGA Tour events. So you're coming over on the program next year, and we're going to send you to the PGA Championship down at Quail Hollow. And you're like, bloody hell, this is great. And, you maybe never hand-mowed greens before.
Yeah.
Have you hand-mowed greens?
I only practice greens at our work, but nothing serious. Don't worry.
Let me tell you, you get the shakes when you get out there.
I'll be shaking.
I know, and that's what happens. And I mean, that's what builds you then, is to get that confidence.
Yeah.
I'm very respectful of the country kids that come out of Australia, and I always talk about places like Pambala and Maroomba and up in Queensland. I'm respectful of that, because guess what? That's where I came from myself.
Yeah.
And you never forget that. You got to stay humble in this business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's such a remarkable journey how you found yourself doing what you're doing, but you've been doing this for a while now.
This will be my 35th year.
Wow.
I mean, and the key is you got to enjoy this kind of work.
Yeah.
Because you see the rewards of it when I see guys around here. I mean, some of them have gone to the dark side. Like I see Glenn Gibson Smith over there. He's with Turf Care Australia.
Yeah.
He was a passionate greenkeeper. He's gone into sales now.
Yep.
Guess what? He has that whole wealth of knowledge that he can partake and give back.
But this is the beauty of our industry, right? If you graduate Australian sports turf managers from TAFE in Australia, and you do your course so often, it doesn't mean you're stuck on a golf course forever. There's so many avenues here, and it's the beautiful thing about it.
You can do anything with it. I got guys that have gone on to being general managers. There's general managers here at this show as well.
Yeah.
I have a guy up there in Bangkok. He was a greenkeeper, came out of Newcastle, and he's a general manager up now in Bangkok.
Well, our business manager, Simon Adam, is from the same thing. He's a greenkeeper as well.
There you go. They're bringing so much more value to being a GM because they know what the greenkeepers have to deal with out on the golf course.
Yeah.
GMs that don't come from the greenkeeping side of things, I believe, are missing out on how much service you're giving to the public in that sense. And you're right. They can go anywhere, into sales, into marketing. I mean, it opens up so many. And I think young people need to know that today, that they're not limited in greenkeeping.
Sure.
They can go overseas and travel. I mean, I got guys now in Saudi building golf courses. I got guys in Dubai, Abu Dhabi. I mean, they're Vietnam. Thailand. So it opens up doors for you. And what I find is a lot of them go overseas and they spread their wings, but a lot of them want to come back to Australia again. So that's really well.
It's good to see the journey come full circle in moments like that. And just if I'm a young golf course apprentice now, or a bowling green apprentice, or a stadia apprentice, and I'm interested in your program, how do I apply? How do I get involved? What's that process look like?
Normally, you'd probably go to your TAFE teacher. We have a website. They can get in touch with us that way, and we'll get them to do what's called an initial inquiry. And by the way, you mentioned bowling green, guys. Bowling greens, I find, are so detail-oriented and so intense. It's literally one green of an 18-hole green in America. Yeah. Because they're so... You've been on some golf courses in America, probably, have you?
Yes, been a few.
Well, you see how detail-oriented they are. They're rolling the greens, they're stimping, they're doing moisture tests, they're doing everything. So they don't need to be afraid of coming either. They can do just as well. Yeah. We like that attention to detail, because that bowling green, they get things... I mean, I don't know what stimp... Do they do stimp readings on bowling greens?
Oh, I'd say they would here in Australia.
So they're just as good as the golf guys. Yeah. So we want them to apply, and then they would apply, and then they would. I would have to know if they've done their level 3 or their level 4.
So you have to have done your level 3 to apply for the program, have you? Yeah.
Yes, and I mean some of them have done their level 4. Yeah. I mean, so level 3 to get through the embassy and everything like that, you have to have the minimum of equivalent of about 2 years of education in turf. Right. Now that would be level 3 probably, a minimum kind of, and then they would be able to qualify, and then they would be sent into the U.S. Embassy for an interview, and they would ask them, "What are you doing? Where golf course are you on? Why are you doing this? Why are you going to America? I want to add value to my CV. I want to get experience. I want to come back." So
their first point of call is always just talking to their TAFE teacher, talking to their boss, whatever they got to do.
Or like in some cases now, the ASMA is doing some teaching. Talk to ASMA, all the people, Bruce McPhee at ASMA. He knows me, Albert Sherry. He knows me as well. And I mean, the education system is really good here. They just have to go through the proper channels to do it in that situation,
Sure. It sounds like such a brilliant program. It sounds like something people should definitely be looking at if they're young and they're in the industry and they want to learn more.
Absolutely. I mean, today, to be honest with you, Joe, the technology is happening so fast. If you want to get to the top, you have to be more educated. I mean, doing, no offense to level 3 or 4, that's just the tip of the iceberg in our minds. They need to be more educated about the, all the technologies happening with those robotic mowers. They need to be more about product. I'm finding in Europe now they're cutting out chemicals. So you're going to have to manage your golf greens or your bowling greens with less products.
They're cutting them out at a rate of knots too, by the sound of it.
Absolutely. They are. And this is where you need to be more educated. What do I do environmentally to manage this? What do I do with my GM, with my customer?
Yeah, no, it's so important. And again, we're lucky enough in the UK recently to see the latest and greatest in robotics. And if you're a young student getting into sports turf now, you have to know about this sort of stuff. It's so important because it's coming as a massive wave, and it's going to be so important in the next few years.
People are saying to me, "Oh, you're going to put us out of jobs and everything." No, we're not. No. We're educating you to be better prepared for the future. You're not going to be out of a job if you have the education, if you're aware of what's out there, and if you're able to sell it in your job interview and saying, "Hey, I'm aware of this technology and we're able to handle this. We need this kind of product."
Well, they have to, but golf is going so well in Australia at the moment. Like numbers are through the roof. It's an important time to capitalise on that, and people need to know how to do it. It's really, really important.
I walked around today asking some of the vendors, how's business? How's business? Good. You know, they're quietly confident about it.
Yeah.
And I was just over in New Zealand, 7 new golf courses being built over there since I was there last.
Yeah.
This is a great time to be in this profession, let me tell you. If you're young and you're interested in going far, you come through and you add value like this program, the top program to their CV, it'd be excellent.
The top program, the Ohio program.
Yes, sir.
The top program. So what's the rest of your journey look like now? You're in Australia for a little bit longer, are you?
So I'm actually going up to see my sister in Cairns and maybe play a little bit of golf up there.
Sorry, I wasn't laughing at your mispronunciation.
I just can't say Cairns properly. I got to say it properly. 20 years coming here, I can never say it properly. And then I'm going to go down to Sydney. I'm going to go in to see Royal Sydney.
Yep.
Number of my past trainees are at Royal Sydney. They're rebuilding the golf course.
Cool.
I don't know if you knew. And then I'm going to go to the lakes, to East Lake. Simon Blagg is here, superintendent. Mm-hmm. Go see him. I'm going to go maybe down to see Mark Parker at New South Wales Golf Club. Mm-hmm. Just go around and visit them. I'm not doing a hard sell. They all have apprentices. Yep. They all want to hold on to them. Yeah. But I'm trying to convince them, send them over for 6 months to the States. We'll add value to them. And then I'm going to go down to Melbourne. I have to go play golf at Yarra Yarra. I have to play golf at Peninsula Kingwood. I have to play golf at the Furrows.
You've got to. You have to.
I know. That's terrible, isn't it? It's a tough life, let me tell you. You know. So, and I'm going to go over to Adelaide, and I'm going to go see all the golf courses in Adelaide. Really good ones. Kooyonga, Glenelg, the Grange.
I actually went to the Grange. I went to the Live tournament there just recently. Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
Oh, something else.
See, I love the fact that they're doing this. This has energized golf in Australia, I think.
Yeah.
It really has. And it's energized the greenkeepers as well.
Yeah.
They see this and they see, I want to be in this as well. And there's that energy. It's lifted all the boats.
Yeah.
Look at the conditioning of the Grange.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a world product that the rest of the world saw on worldwide TV.
Those fairways were ridiculous. It must have been 5 or 6 mil. Like, their fairways were ridiculous.
This is what I'm talking about. Not every golf course can do that, but what they produce to show the world that golf greenkeeping in Australia is so good.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about when my supers in the States are going, did you see that golf course in Australia? Where is that? Do you have apprentices there? And I go, yes, sir.
Yeah.
These are the kids I'm bringing up to the States.
Yeah.
And they're going, well, where are they? We want more Australians.
Yeah.
Well, and I should say we need to get females into the business. We didn't talk about getting females in. Women in Turf is an initiative from the ASTMA.
Yeah.
And we can't do enough.
Turf Australia, our industry body, they do a Women in Turf event as well.
They do.
Yep.
There's a lot of females in the industry in the States as well.
Well, you've been very generous with your time here, Mike, and it's so good to see the work you're doing, not just with Australian apprentices, but apprentices around the world. It's the Ohio program.
Yes, sir.
So if you haven't checked it out already, please do. I'm sure you can check it out on their website or on their socials or whatever they want to do.
Yes.
But if you are interested in applying, talk to your TAFE teacher, talk to your GM, talk to your super at your work, and please get involved, because what I understand and what we've learned today is something pretty special. So we appreciate you making the time and telling us all about it.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me on here, and I really appreciate the time. Thank you guys, Joe, for having me on here.
No, thanks so much, Mike. Appreciate it.